Now then, people, good morning and welcome back to the Just Joe football show. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. It's Christmas week, innit, in just 2 days' time. But listen, the channel doesn't stop, the content doesn't stop, and we're here bright-eyed and bushy-tailed Monday morning to talk about Leeds United's most recent victory against Oxford 4-0. Nice, comfortable victory in the end. And then obviously look ahead to two massive away games for Leeds United in the context of the season, really, because we all know Leeds away from home has been nothing like our home form of late. And of course, I couldn't do the counterpoint without this guy. I didn't know what I was going to say, but without Conor McGilligan. So happy Christmas, Conor. How are you, man?
All good, mate. All good, yeah. Hello to everyone in the Just Joe football show. Give me a bit of slack. For some reason, I've decided to sleep in like a lazy bum. So apologies for everyone there. Normally, I'm a 6-hour sleeper, you know. Normally, I'm 5-6 hour sleeper. But something happened last night, which took me away for around about 10, 11 hours. So, yeah, there you go. I'm not used to it, Joe. You know, sometimes you oversleep, don't you? Sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
Bloody hell's going on. But yes, I am fine. I am fine. 4-0 win for Leeds at the weekend. Yeah, all good. Living in the moment, Joe. I'm not doing this long-term thinking anymore. We've beaten Oxford. Let's worry about Stoke some other day. You know what I mean? But no, we'll get into it, mate. We'll get into it.
Yeah, mate. Even I had to sort of like rein myself in a bit. I kept saying to myself, I'm not going to allow myself to get too giddy. This was expected. I predicted 5. You know, this wasn't a shock. They are poor. They're probably not good enough for the division. They just lost their manager. I'm sort of glad Gary Rowett didn't have time to get stuck into them because it could have been a different game. You just never know. But yeah, it was expected. So I didn't want to over-egg it. But there were some good performances out there on the pitch, not least. And we'll start with him, Manos Solomon. He got man of the match. I thought it was his best performance by a country mile in a Leeds United shirt. And he just needed time, Conor. He seems to be, we're starting to get what we thought was coming in the door, I assume.
Yeah, he's been excellent. He's been absolutely excellent. And yeah, I think his biggest, for me, the biggest credit that can be put to him, you know, is how he's influenced every single game. It feels maybe there might have been a little bit of a change in him, maybe physically, obviously, because, you know, he's available all the time. Not only that, but he's coming onto the pitch. He's using his body well. He's getting Leeds out of tricky situations. I felt when he's come off the bench and Leeds need to get up the pitch quickly. He's done that. As I said, transitionally, he's been really good from the start. Though I think, look, people in my chat were, why Solomon starting? And I was saying, look, it's a meritocracy in football. If you play well, which me and you've said with Solomon, if he plays well, comes on, makes an impact, you know, the manager will look at him. You know, he's pretty much said that in all of his press conferences.
I think he favours him to Ramazani, doesn't he? Like you was saying, whether we agree or disagree on that, everyone was always saying, why ain't Ramazani? And I was like, well, he's not playing a winger in the 10. We've established this now, right? He's unlikely to do it. Not from the start, anyway. So Ramazani and Solomon are competing for that same spot. And I would argue, like when he was in that presser and he was talking, Solomon's already at that level. We need to give Ramazani time. He clearly favours Solomon, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, if you've got a gun to my head and you're asking me between the two, I'm still going Ramazani. But at the minute, it's, you know, I mean, I guess coming back from his injury, as Ramazani hasn't started a game, so maybe you're kind of looking at it and thinking, well, he needs that. I think we know he's the electric player when he gets into it. In Ramazani, but Solomon's playing really well. He's playing really well. I thought he was excellent at the weekend, and yeah, mate, I'm happy for him. I'll be honest, I didn't know if it'd happen, but I'm happy to be proved wrong. He's come in, and you know, as I say, mate, it's a meritocracy, and he's playing well at the minute. So yeah. Keep him in for me. He's doing a good job.
Definitely. I do want to talk about Brendan as well, because obviously it's up and down at the minute. He was good against Middlesbrough. Not great away at Preston. He was then decent again. I don't think he was amazing, but obviously he gets goals and an assist. I mean, the finish is really composed for Brendan Aronson. I thought it was a really good finish. I want you to talk on his performance, bro, but then also, and it's the same, and we'll sort of move it on to Stoke. do we start him away at Stoke based on this performance, or do we need to have a conversation about Farke potentially making changes when we are away from home, even though we've had good performances from some?
Yeah, it's not a bad point as well. I've just seen Becchio's Bulls just put in there about a lone player. That's interesting that, because obviously we're not going to get him. It doesn't feel like we are, and potentially if we go up to the Premier League. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure we go and get Solomon, because I think he's going to be quite a bit of cash. But yeah, Aronson, not for me, mate. Not away from home. It just does. Him and Peru, I don't know what it is. It seems to be. They just struggle. I think Aronson lacks a bit of composure away from him. I think obviously mean you're getting into Peru. And I just want to preface this by saying, everybody, and I've said this to Joe, and Joe knows this, and everybody knows I've got no problem with Aronson. I've got no problem with. We're all supporting him at the beginning of the season. We have done on my channel several times about, as I keep saying, meritocracy. If he plays well, brilliant, but feels like away from home he struggles, mate. I feel it physically really struggles with it, and I think there's evidence on the back of that, and I don't know what he does with him, to be fair, because like you said, he's not moving a winger in central. He's pretty much said that. I know you're not so keen on that, but I would welcome that. But
truth be told, mate, what Will said to add, but again, you have to apply game state to this because of the opposition and what the time it was. I do think Nonto impressed when he came on, and that made me happy, because I've been really frustrated with this.
That's all you wanted to see, wasn't it? You were saying you need to see it, and then you can believe it, sort of thing. Yeah. He was impressive in there, but obviously you do have to apply the games. Had they thrown the towel in, it was 3 or 4-0 at the time, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I was impressed with Nonto's performance, because the last few weeks he has annoyed the shit out of me, because my expectations of Nonto are up here. Do you know what I mean? And you get into people like me telling you he's one of the best or the best player in the championship. So you think, well, where is that? He needs to be consistent with it. So I think the good thing about Nonto, I would say, Joe, is he's playing wide right at the minute all the time. I would say that getting Nonto centrally means that he's going to get involved in the game a lot more, because Leeds build up vertically. So if Leeds build up vertically, Nonto's going to be involved in the game a lot more. He was showing for it when he came on. You could see it against Oxford. Once again, game state, but there's been a lot of people saying, look, what will he do in that number 10? Is he going to be on the half turn? Is he going to be able to deal with it? And, he's constantly asking for the ball. He's constantly trying to drive through that middle. It'll be interesting to see how him and Rothwell work together, actually. Will Rothwell almost go a little bit deeper? Because what I did notice with Nonto, what Aronson doesn't really do, and this is to his credit, actually, is Aronson, I feel, is always between the midfield and the defensive line. And I think the beauty about that is you've kind of got the midfield going like that consistently, and the defender a little bit like, did you see the Villa goal when it might have been Tielemans, when Tielemans got in between the defence and the midfield, and he picked it up and Stones rushed out and basically dragged the defender out, and then Tielemans was able to play the ball central through the middle of the defence. I think it's interesting how Aronson picks up that role, because the midfield and the defender don't really know what to do. Who's going to go? Who's going to stay? Nonto, I felt, was coming deep to drive through, if that makes sense. So whereas Aronson just almost sticks in that position between the midfield and the defence on the half turn, which is a problem a lot of the time, I felt Nonto was coming deep to then drive forward, which essentially is what you get with Rothwell. He's always going to get the ball deep and then try drive into that pocket. So that's something I noticed, a little bit different to what Brendan does. Nonto wants to receive the ball consistently. I think he gets a little bit eager sometimes, but at least he showed it, mate. At least he showed in that number 10, he's a problem.
Yeah, for sure. I thought he was good when he came on, for sure.
But you asked me a question, didn't you? So yeah, I'll say, mate. Yeah, I mean, I'd start Nonto in the 10, but yeah. What would you do, mate? Would you go still stick down?
I think I just want to see something different away from home. I think I'd much prefer the 3 in midfield, if I'm honest. I think Ampadu's important to start away from home. I think he gives us that grit. He gives us that physicality, which we sometimes lack. I don't think, I even thought he was good at the weekend, but I'm not saying he should be starting ahead of Stroud. But that's another thing as well, mate. Do you see the manager keeping that now? Which it could happen, bro. Because I'm not advocating for it, but I could see him, because Ampadu played well. He's looked a bit rusty in parts. He wants to have his captain on the pitch. Maybe that was his opportunity. And we've seen before players get injured and then they lose their places. He very rarely changes it outside of that. We have seen a lot more rotation this season, admittedly, but I'd like to see a 3 in midfield potentially. And like you said, of like having Ampadu as the 6 and then just seeing Tanaka and Rothwell interchange really with who goes forward, depending on, how the move develops maybe. But I think it's important to have Ampadu at the base of the midfield, the captain, away from home. And I think even just having him in there, we might see a different Leeds United. I don't know if you agree or...
Yeah, it'd be interesting, a 3 away from him. Obviously, we've seen it once, haven't we, against Norwich in the playoffs. But he went for a draw, didn't he, in that game? He felt like he went for a draw and he wanted to get them back to Ellen Road, and he went back to a 4-2-3-1, didn't he? So that'd be interesting to see if he'd do it, because... I don't know, it felt like a bit of a setup for that. And when people naturally see like a midfield 3, they think that, probably with Farke now, you think to yourself, well, he's going to try go for the drawing against Stoke. Joe, win is needed. I would, 4-3-3. It's such an interesting one, because I'd be really excited to almost see Rothwell in that advanced position. But I've kind of like thought to myself, well, how can we get the best out of this? But I wouldn't like all the pressure on Rothwell. I actually think Tanaka getting a little bit further forward, maybe just in behind Rothwell a little bit, but almost as two players going forward. And then, like you've said, Ampadu at the base would work. That would work. I think there's much more likelihood of him going to a 4-2-3-1 and sticking Nonto in there. I think that's more likely. But then, Joe, when I think about the likelihood of that, I think there's no chance of that either. So to me, it's very much a stick with it, and we'll wait and see what happens. There's a conversation as well. Is he just doing this with Aronson and Peru to essentially be like, look, this is what I need in the January window?
Maybe. I think we do need a 10, that's for sure. Because if you want my honest opinion, I don't think he will change Aronson for Stoke away on Thursday. Sorry. I don't think he will.
But then it's difficult, isn't it? Because we kind of see, you kind of think to yourself, Joe, and chat as well. Let us know what you think in there. But it feels like nothing will change away from home then. It just feels a little bit like that, doesn't it? Especially if he's going to go Peru up top again. It feels very similar.
That's the big change needed, Conor, for me. It's the striker. Because
right. Yeah.
I think he got an assist, but he was overall game on Saturday for me. And I've seen some people praising Peru in the chat. He was non-existent for me. He ghosted again. I don't remember anything key that he did apart from the assist for Solomon, but a lot of that was through Manor's good work anyway. Even the goal for James, by the way, he passes it into Solomon. Sorry, he passes it into Peru and he fumbles it, and Solomon manages to still retrieve it and take it past his man and cross it.
Even so for this is maybe an extra harsh as well, but even for the Solomon goal, he plays it too far ahead of Solomon, and Solomon does really well on his right foot to control it and then zips it in with his left. Yeah, he plays it too far in front of him.
So I think that's what I would like to see, a change away from home, because he's gonna hassle, he's gonna harry, he's Joseph, he sometimes probably to his own detriment, because he probably needs to be more selective of when he goes and when he decides to press, etc. But I just think he's got that youthful exuberance about him. He wants to impress, he wants to do well, so he's running after everything really. So I think for me, we need to see Joseph starting away from home. We have to, I think, at this point.
But then what happens? What happens then when I say he doesn't score? Is then it going to be? It's going to be an absolute slag fest when it comes to Joseph again. Yeah, it just because there's been some games this season where I've seen it and he's done all the sort of off the ball work, and I've come out and I've thought, flipping heck, he's had it, and obviously footy's subjective, innit? But I've looked at the game and I've thought, decent. Yeah, he's got a good game. Has not scored a goal, but he's maybe done X, Y, and Z. And you're probably looking at the Borough game as a key example. And then I get online, and he's just getting absolutely hammered. And I'm like, I just see that game just very differently. But look, he needs to get goals. He's a striker. He needs to get goals, and I understand that. And that's what he's going to be judged on. He's going to be judged on goals. And everyone in the chat, I've seen Matt say it there. He doesn't score goals, and that's 100% right. I think away from home though, it needs to be a bit more strategic. It needs to be a bit more tactic based. I think sometimes when Leeds need maybe a bit of an alleviation of pressure, hitting Joseph helps. I think as a centre back, I've played centre back before. I think I'd much rather come up against Peru, who's constantly in front of me, as opposed to Joseph, who's running off me all the time, hitting the channels, running between the centre backs, running between the centre back and the full back, dropping. He's quicker. He's much more of an athlete. So there's the goals, of course, and 100% agree with that. And it's a separate thing, and he needs to score goals to prove to the fan base. And I think me and you've had this chat loads of times, mate. He needs to score goals. But there is the other part of it, which makes it easier for the 3 and the 2, probably the 5 in and behind Joseph as well, going the striker, the 5 in behind the striker as Leeds are going forward. Joseph been on the pitch as opposed to Peru. But I understand people think I personally have got this Joseph thing. Guys, I honestly haven't. I'm just trying to figure out a way that Leeds can get the best out of the number 9. As Joe's quite rightly said, in my opinion, I think there's too many games. There's too many games where he literally is paronymous, and we've said it multiple times. And I don't think 3 goals in his last 12 sort of vindicate any sort of conversation, really. So yeah, look, I'd be giving Joseph a few games, and I'd stick with him for a few games, and then we can have a chat about that. Maybe 6 games, see what happens. Are you losing that much statistically? Peru's coming off the bench, and when he's coming off the bench, he's actually more effective. So yeah, all coming around, mate. That's how I'd be going about. You've heard it a million times before from me, though, mate.
100%. Yeah, I'm just having a look at some of the comments. I just want to respond. Like Bob says, why do you both? I don't think I've made an excuse. I've at times said Pirot should be starting. I just think the last few weeks he's been pretty poor. I know Kevin mentioned how he set up one of the goals, but outside of that, he did nothing, in my opinion. So that's why I would advocate away from home. We don't want a striker that's going to ghost. I don't think Joseph will do that. I think he is good enough, Bob. Again, we need to give players time. There was a lot that was saying there's a conversation about sending Solomon back in January. Gone on social media this morning. He's an elite baller. So it's like opinions change quickly. Yeah. So to say that, he simply isn't good enough, blanket statement, I think it's not true. And I do agree we could do with a 9, Bob, but I don't think the club will, if I'm honest, unless Bamford leaves. This chat of Wrexham, but I just don't see them breaking their wage structure. I think the most that someone's on there is 10 grand a week. He's not going to go for that. So
no, it's not.
I don't think that'll happen. I just, as well, big up Luke B. We agree a lot, mate, but I think it's a case of we're not wanting to have a moan. I think what the preface of this conversation is about what do we do away from home, because I think we all expected a routine win. As I said, I predicted 5 before a goal was kicked. We got 4. I thought it would be an easy game, and it was. Now we've got 2 away games, Stoke and Derby. So then it's a case of, right, how can we take that home form into an away ground? What can Farke do to potentially have us perform better? Because the performances away from home have been poorer as well. So would a change at the tip of the attack change that? Potentially? And that's the conversation that we're having, because I think it would, because Pirot is ghosting. I even felt away when we played Preston, when he put him in the 10, it was even worse. He just needed to be taken off the pitch. I think at times, Pirot, you can tell within the first 10, 15 minutes if he's going to have a good game or not.
And Matt said there, need time, but on the other time, Joseph has played over 1,000 minutes. He's had time. A lot of that, though, Matt, I would say, starting wise, it's not. It's like start the season, he had a bit of favoritism for that, and that just shows another thing as well. Like, with Joseph starting and starting in pre-season as well, Daniel Farke sort of held his hat on him. You know what I mean? And he's not. Maybe he's just not thinking that he's hitting those levels at the minute. He needs to come on a little bit. But then he's starting against Borough. That's rotation, but you've got to have faith in your striker there as well. Yeah, I think Farke's a bit confused on it as well. I do think it, but I think Peru's up to what is it, 1,600 minutes now? Obviously, Joseph's just shy of 1,000 minutes, so there is a big difference there. So I would personally start with, I think, writing him off, Joseph. I'll be honest with you guys, and I'll be honest with the chat. I think as a 19-year-old boy, I think writing him off, I'm finding it really, really surprising with the fan base, how quickly, especially with someone who's, you know, who is so passionate when he plays for Leeds as well. Clearly loves the badge, loves the club. I'm finding it really odd with Joseph at the minute. They almost sell him. He's crap. He's not good enough. It's like, yeah, I just think we've got to stick with him a little bit more. And as I say, with Peru, what is it? Like I said, mate, 3 goals in his last 12. It's not assassin form. It's not assassin form of which you can't even have the conversation about Joseph. Give him 5 or 6 games, see what happens, start him, and then we can have a conversation then. But I don't think Leeds are going to do a number 9, guys. I don't think they're going to do it. Personally, I don't think we're going to do it. So we've got to stick with what we've got. Yeah.
But do you feel we will get additions? I think we'll just get a 10, mate.
I don't think we'll do anything.
Not at all.
No, I think we might maybe potentially look at, it depends on Firpo, done it with that pre-contract agreement. Yeah, if he does get one, maybe at left back, I think that's something we'll look at. But yeah, I don't think we'll do anything, mate. I don't think we'll do anything. We might hear afterwards that we tried. But I don't. Well, how do you feel how would you feel if we don't? And everyone in the chat as well. What would you? Because I know you'd feel. I think you were kind of. You're very.
Conor, I think it could cost us promotion if we don't.
I agree. Yeah. Although we've said multiple times that the squad's more than good enough to win the league.
It is, yeah. But I think what you'll see is Burnley and Sheffield United do a lot of business.
I think so. Well, I think Sheffield United are definitely going to do something. I feel. So they've got 2 central midfield spots. So they've got Arblas out, isn't he? So he's out for the season. Sousa's been out for the last 2 or 3. And another one coming back on the striker, Joe. You've had Kiefer Moore sort of come back from injury, haven't you? And he's scored 3. He's scored 3 and 2, hasn't he? So it's I think you bang on the money there, mate. In terms of the promotion thing, I think us just being smart. Look, I don't know if we've been really that smart in the loan market in comparison to other clubs. I think we had a problem with it last year, didn't we? Last season when we were talking about. I think that's pretty big as well.
Potentially, yeah. Although I mean, we. Joe Rodon's the big one, and he was he was a good loan, but Sheffield United can spend, mate. They can spend. They've been taken over, bro. So I think Sheffield United will do a business, and I think
you know what I would do anyway, don't you? I've told you a million times.
New keeper.
Luke's just reminded me of it there. Just like, that would be nice. I'd wake up on January the 2nd. If we'd done something on the 1st, I'd be a very, very happy boy. But yeah,
100%. I'm hoping the streamlining behind the scenes that we saw is a nod to making it more like let too many cooks spoil the broth kind of vibe. Do you know what I mean? So I'm hoping that January will go a little bit more streamlined and it'll be a little bit quicker. I don't agree with the 49ers thing of waiting till the last minute because I think
it always feels with that is, they talk about it being opportunistic, Joe. I always think when it's opportunistic, but as well, if they see Leeds coming in with 3 or 4 days to go, they're going to be like that, aren't they? They're going to be like, here we go. Let's see. We'll hike the price up or whatever it's going to be. Loan structure, pay a little bit more.
Like they told us, but we wouldn't manage to get Solomon if we didn't. And okay, that's fair enough. But I just think. I just don't want to hear Kinnear coming on the square ball and saying at the back end we tried for Fabio Carvalho and Emi Buendia again. I just look, if we're going to go get him, we're Leeds United. Let's go get him. Let's do that. I wonder. I do wonder with that if they're maybe going to go for one of them again, because it feels like when we've got a short list, haven't we, Joe? It's been the same sort of since Bielsa. Yeah, exactly. It seems to be the case, doesn't it, mate? Yeah, we definitely need a 10. And I agree with what Oliver said. It's too late, end of January, because you've wasted a month's worth of fixtures. And we've got some big fixtures coming up in January as well. And you wonder naturally, obviously, I think Aaronson's got a couple of assists now, hasn't he? But a couple of assists in the amount of games. Goals,
he's got 5 goals now, 5, 6 goals. But 2 assists, you're kind of looking and thinking, I wonder if the number 9's going to be massively helped by us actually going out and buying a proper technician. Do you know, like we've just spoken about, let's say Carvalho there or Buendia, they're a certain type, aren't they? They're probably not going to give you what Aronson's going to give you in terms of, you know, a little bit of a press and recoveries in the final third. But what they are, I mean, Buendia would, but by God, you know, his numbers were unbelievable in the Championship everywhere defensively as well. But key to note as well, he sort of played off the right a little bit more as well, didn't he? Not centrally, Buendia, which is interesting. But yeah, I do wonder if they're going to favour like a little bit more of a technical number 10, and then that'd help maybe your Josephs potentially.
100%, and we need someone like that who has that calm, who has that precision, who has that technical ability in tight spaces, doesn't get, you know, bounced off the ball as easy as Aronson does at time, although that's improved away from home when we're playing these low blocks, mate. You know, that's what we need. Someone who's going to play that killer pass and open up the floodgates, if you like. I do think having Solomon away from home massively helps because he seems to be able to beat a player in this league with ease. And then when he does, space opens up. And he showed at the weekend he does have some decent passes in his locker as well. So that's an added bonus. And I think, you know, he keeps his place in the side for me. I don't think he'd change Aronson, but I won't mind a free in midfield. But I just don't know. I think we do need the 10 screaming to me. I know people won't want to hear it, but I think we get by with Meslier. I think we get by with the 9s that we've got. Having someone different to share the minutes with Aronson so important. So important for me. I think that's
why do you think? Yeah, because I've sort of said when it comes to Meslier, I think Meslier, and there's a conversation that, well, and the data backs it up in terms of goal prevented, that we're in the minuses with him. I think he loses us, and statistically he is technically losing us points per season. Aronson, according to a lot of fans, maybe yourself included as well, and some of the chat, and I think he's been much better than expected him to be, is doing an all right job. And then I guess if you've got you've spoke about the 4-3-3 as well. We've spoken about it. You could put Nonto in there if Aronson was injured, he'd have to do something in around that squad, wouldn't he? So it'd be interesting. It feels like that's what it's like with Farke. If Aronson gets injured, or maybe a cup competition, he decides to put a winger in number 10, and the winger in number 10 has a brilliant game. Then Farke's like, oh, hold on. You're very similar to Rothwell coming in when Anthony was out. He's a bit like, oh, hold on a minute. I wonder if, and I would argue that maybe a goalkeeper's more important. Maybe, yeah. We talk about these marginal gains, Joe, and I just think Aronson has had, I think, more of an upturn in terms of the season, and I think he's probably more valuable in there, even though I think there needs to be a bit of a change in there. But if we're doing one or the other, at least don't do two. I think Meslier costs us more points towards the back end of the season, and I don't think it'd be that extreme with Aronson being in that number 10 for the rest of the season, and us maybe changing with a winger in the 10 if needed. I think Meslier costs us more points this season.
I mean, it's a conversation. I just think for me, they would then have 4 keepers on their books. No one's going to come for Meslier this January. Did you see the talk of that, bro? What was that about, man? That was crazy, wasn't it?
I was thinking, could I go as far as to put this on the rumour mill? And I was like, I can't even talk about that. I can't even talk about that for 2 minutes.
They got David Raya and what's the other one? Neto. I think they've got Neto on the books as well. And then they're going to bring in Meslier. I don't know. Maybe they just have that one game snippet of him. The one game snippet we always harp back to.
I think it's as well. I don't know if you want to get onto it, mate, but I think it's key as well to speak about like the other teams as well in and around us who might cause. I don't think there's going to be a panic as such, but I think it's interesting to talk about maybe the 49ers reacting not only to other teams' business but other teams' form at the minute. And I know you were speaking about Burnley's home form is like equivalent to Leeds' away form, and that I thought that I actually had them to lose, you know, on the weekend. I thought Watford would be a really tricky customer for them. Them coming through that was actually a really good result. And you know, I do wonder how consistent maybe they're going to be now as well. I think looking at Sheffield United on Boxing Day, I think we need to want maybe Sheffield United to win that game. They're just not dropping, mate. Sheffield United, they just seem to home and away. They're just consistent. The big thing to talk about is we've been crap away from home, and we're still only 3 points behind them with a better goal difference.
Yeah,
pretty mad.
Exactly. Yeah, just talking about some of that when you talk about the goals scored and whatnot. I did just want to bring up this this stuff that was put out yesterday by Chris from LUFC. Day always does great work.
Chris, brilliant.
Yeah, he is, and I just want to share this on the screen, folks. Just if in case not many has seen it, it's probably not a great. You probably can't see it, but you can see there in Leeds United ranked in the Championship in 2024-25. So this season, we are first or second for every noticeable metric. 41 goals scored. I won't read it all, but you can see it there. You know, pass accuracy, chances created, 271. Most successful passes over 11,000. Lowest XG conceded. It's a good job that's number one, because we'd have conceded a lot more goals, I'd imagine, if we had a porous defence because of the keeper. But passes into the final third, goal difference, shot creating actions, fewest opposition final third passes. So it just shows how in control we can be. And then the ones that we are second in, opposition box touches, most points won, most games won, and most clean sheets. I think we're third for that. I think Burnley will be first and stuff, but that, I mean, Conor, I know we can complain at times that in certain games it can be a bit boring, and I understand that, you know, when we're dominating teams, but that there is so impressive, and this is why I guess I understand like people being frustrated when they look at our performances away from home, or they could say Farke's boring or whatever, but you could never surely actually sack a manager when you're putting up these metrics. Like, it's insane that it is insane that we're that good. Do you not think?
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I'm not. Look, you get it on. You'll see it on socials. You'll see it in your chat. I see it in my chat a hell of a lot. Getting rid of him. There's no way I'd get rid of him, and I've always maintained that in the Championship. There's no way. There's no. Look, I'll criticize him, but I wouldn't get rid of him. Nowhere. I think right now he's got his flaws, but I think every manager has the flaws. You know, we're looking at the best team in the world right now, or the best, you know, the champions of England, Man City, and the best manager ever, in my opinion, has his flaws. You know, it's every manager does have them, and I think Farke's got them. But you know, he's doing a good job right now, mate. But the ultimate aim, the objective, is for us 100%. To be in that top two, not nothing less. So. Yeah, that's still what I'm looking at, mate. It does. I do think to myself, I just want us that away form, even if we just increase it, Joe. So we've had 1 win in 7, I think, away from home. If we've had 3 wins away all season so far, we had 9 wins away all season in 25. But if we just increase that just a tiny bit to even 13 wins away, if we just increase it to our next 7 away games. 3 away wins, of which you would have hoped for a promotion running team, top 2 promotion winning team. That's great. And that's an improvement. And I'd be more than happy with that. If we beat Stoke on Boxing Day, mate, I'm going to be absolutely buzzing, because it shows an improvement there. We're away from home, and hopefully it galvanizes the lads. You can tell there's a bit of an issue, Joe, when you're getting them interviewed by Sky Sports and Radio Leeds, and they're asking about the away form. What's wrong with the away form in comparison to the home form? And I think, you know, we start seeing an improvement in that. As I say, we have to win every single game away from home. I know that's not realistic, but maybe matching what he did with that Norwich team, that'd be nice. But to be fair, they did pretty much win every away game. So, but yeah, I think that needs to improve, mate. I just don't want us to get to that last 10-game period where it's going to be very nervy and we're completely relying on our home form. But yeah,
100%. I agree. I'm just laughing at this. I mean, John, it does. It gives you a sort of like fair barometer that if Leeds continue to play that way and continue to be at the top for all the metrics, then they're going to be there or thereabouts come the end of the season, I think. But yeah, I think the most important thing for us away from home, Conor, we have to score first. We have to stop gifting the opposition the goal, because as we know, when we score first, It's 35 games now we've scored first. We've won 32 and drawn 3 and lost absolutely none. We've scored 82 goals and conceded only 11 when scoring first in 35 games, which is insane. 26 clean sheets in that time. 99 points won out of a possible 105. 105. And we got 99. So that's the key thing, I think, because if Leeds United score first, we don't lose. So I think it's a case of getting that first goal. I know it sounds so easy, but if we can just get that first goal, because we do have chances away from home. I can't remember. I think, I'm trying to think of Millwall was probably the only one.
Preston was minging, wasn't it? But you still had that Aronson one where he's got to score, and he hits it all the way into Preston town centre, doesn't he? So it's daft bits like that, you know.
Yeah. And I think that's honestly, I think it's as easy as that. I think it sounds it. But if we get the first goal on Boxing Day at 8 o'clock, we win that game against Stoke because we then dominate them off the ball in terms of, not gifting up chances. They have to come out and then we potentially get one on the break because we know we can be lethal on the break as well. I think for me, it's so important for us to get the first goal.
I think what I'd say, Joe, is we talk about Solomon a lot and we talk about Ramazani. I think having Ramazani on a counter-attack away from home is a real asset. I think, he showed, didn't he? I think it was Norwich and Cardiff away from home. He was just, they're on the back foot because they just know he's on the counter-attack with potentially Nonso and potentially James in there or whatever. And it's just pure speed. And you think speed away from home is if you're solid at the back and you can hit on the break with just pace. I think that's maybe where the opposition team that you play might keep a couple of fullbacks back instead of going gung ho with getting forward, hitting the halfway line or even on set pieces. If Leeds left Ramazani and James up top, they're not going to bring all the men forward. They might leave 2 or 3 back. I think pace and that transitional counter attack is huge, and that's all I'd say when it comes to maybe Solomon or Ramazani. I think Solomon's been brilliant, but I do look at Ramazani and think he'd be an absolute pain in the arse, and he's proven it as well this season away from home. I think that's
you're advocating taking Solomon out away from home.
Nah, it'd be great if they could both go in, wouldn't it? It'd be great if they could both go in. I'm being a hypocrite here because I've spoken about meritocracy and how good Solomon's been. So yeah, I mean, okay, here's my solution. I'd be having Solomon left side, and I'll stick with that because I think Solomon's been really good. But I think there's got to be a point in the game maybe where Farke, if it's not going well for us, I think he's got to make changes quicker. And I think Ramazani has to be the first change, depending on the game, obviously. But I think Ramazani's just pure pace, gets us out of a lot of trouble and helps us. Yeah,
no, he's a top player, 100%. Do you worry about the centre-back position, mate, and Strout getting back in?
Hold on, mate. I've got my coffee coming. Thank you.
No worries. It's a bit late, like.
There you go. Got that.
It's about 40 minutes late, that. What's going on?
There's a Christmas present, look.
Number 1 fan, Mr. Leeds.
Yeah, so in terms of just in terms of the complexity of it right now, what Ampadu at the back instead.
Yeah, I just think you want Ampadu in there. He played well. Yeah, or do you think
he loves Ampadu, doesn't he? He absolutely adores him. I have to say, if Rothwell comes out, I'll be upset. You probably know I will be. I'll be very upset.
No, but he was great at the weekend, though, mate. He was the better of the 2 midfielders.
How many times are we saying it now, Joe? Do you know what I mean, mate? It's. Is there a conversation? And look, this is going to absolutely boil a few heads. I understand that. Is there a conversation ever, and I'm just putting it out there, that Tanaka gets dropped for Ampadu?
I don't think he'll drop Tanaka.
Is there a conversation there to be had, though? Do you reckon? As Rothwell, do you think Rothwell has to start all the time, or do you think because if he's not going to play a 3, one of them's going to get dropped, aren't they, very quickly?
Maybe you'll prefer the defensive solidity. Someone mentioned it in the chat earlier on, right at the start, about how away from home we were better with Gruev and Ampadu. And is there a conversation that he prefers 2 more defensive-minded midfielders away from home. And again, listen, if he dropped Rothwell at the weekend and played Ampadu and Tanaka and we won, and then when we played at home next, he brought Rothwell back in, I'm totally fine with that. I like rotation. I like changing your opposition, changing, your formation dynamic depending on the opposition. So I think, and people won't want to hear it, but definitely think we were a lot more steely away from home when we did have Ruev and Ampadu in there. So maybe. But I don't know, bro. It's hard, isn't it? Like, I'd hate to be in Farke's shoes because he will want to play Ampadu. He will want to get him in there because, he said as much and we can see it. So even...
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because Tanaka's
he brought him on at right back, bro, to get him some minutes, didn't he? He was like, right, just get on at right back so I can get you ready to come up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it's weird. It's weird because Tanaka. I don't think Tanaka's been great. Maybe the last 3 games, and I'd say probably in the last 3 games out of
not by his standards anyway. Not by his standards.
Yeah. In the midfield, I'd say probably Rothwell has sort of stood up a little bit. I thought 1-0 at the weekend, mate. I thought 1-0. When they're having a couple of decent chances. I mean, we were still all over them, but they had 2 stupid chances, didn't they? The Paqueta and the looped header over Melier, which just hit the top of the net. I thought Rothwell was the one driving us forward, and I just wonder if we're in need of maybe that, in a game. Tanaka and Ampadu. I think Ampadu would probably provide it, to be fair, because I think Ampadu would start to drive, but I don't know with Tanaka. In that role, because people are saying push Tanaka up a little bit. He does strike me as the type of midfielder who really enjoys coming deep, splitting the defenders and then dictating from deep. He's not really, in my opinion, he's not that type of player, is he? And we've not seen right yet, and this is what you've said, Joe, multiple times. You kind of need to see it to believe it. I've not seen him maybe in that attacking third. I mean, he should have scored against Preston, shouldn't he? Where it was an open goal with someone on the net and he hit that person on the net. I've just not seen so far that as maybe sort of an 8 / not 10, but an 8. Tanaka's that devastating going forward. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see with that 3.
We will. And no matter what he goes with, people will be annoyed come the lineup. You go on social media and it's like,
I'm not saying take Tanaka out, by the way, and I don't like Tanaka because I know people are going to start going with that now. I'm just offering another solution, maybe.
Definitely. DLR Fabrication says we're all stressing over nothing. Farke said it will take 2 seasons, and whatever he has said has happened. As long as 49 is back him, he will deliver, and he has broken records over Bielsa. Let's go, says DLR Fabrications. Very confident that Leeds United will be promoted come the end of the season.
Joe hearing that last bit and cringing.
No. But you know what? When we were talking about them stats, and Jamie's just made a point there. He said it's not the defence that's the issue; it's the conversion. And Michael made the point when we were going through the stats that this is the issue. I think the main issue with Leeds United right now, mate, is our conversion of chances away from home, which is crazy when we've scored 41 and we've scored the most in the league by a country mile, but it could be 51. Do you know what I mean? It's not crazy to say it could be 51. And maybe that's why he's starting Pirro. I don't know, because he's more clinical. I just don't know. But I think if Leeds United can be clinical, if Leeds United can sort that conversion out away from home and get the first goal on Boxing Day, we will win the game. I believe we will win the game. There's talk online as well of their manager, the Stoke manager, getting sacked. He's had no wins in 7. I don't know if that helps us or not. Yeah, I seen that last night about the Stoke manager, so I don't know whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I'm pretty sure Preston had something like 1 win in like 14 or something like that. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. That's not. Look, I think you've been to Stoke. Were you at Stoke when we lost 2-1? Yeah.
And we brought on Stuart McKinstry. That's how bad that squad was, by the way.
Yeah,
Stuart McKinstry. Where's he now? I wonder where he is now, Stuart McKinstry.
I think 1 in 11, says Justin. So with Leeds, it does feel like, look, teams get up for it. Of course they do. They'll sell the most tickets. Boxing Day will be a big one at Stoke as well. I'm pretty sure in that season, Joe, we played Stoke at a very similar point as well. It was December, January, I'm sure we did when we lost that 2-1 game. But they've just, as well, I think the players have got to be up for it as well. The intensity for me, it's a bit sluggish away from home. I think they're a little bit scared to make a mistake. You know, they're a little bit scared to hit the ball between the lines and really, you know, balance risk against reward. And I think Leeds have got to be a little bit braver. Away from home, I still think we see a lot of side to side, lateral, slow, less dynamic build up. I think at home we look right on it a lot of the time from the starting whistles. That needs to change, and that's from the players as well. They've got to get themselves G'd up for it. Is that why you put Ampadu in? Because he can do that. He's captain material, isn't he? At 22, 23, whatever he is. Is that why you get him in there to G the lads up? Have we got personalities in there right now to do that without Ampadu? I think a big thing, like you were mentioning there, is Ampadu doesn't stay centre-back. Strauch is the better centre-back. Strauch is an exceptional player at this level. He's not a fan favourite. I don't understand why he's never been a fan favourite. Maybe it's because he's not as passionate on the field. Maybe he's not that archetype centre-back where you're throwing yourself into tackles. And I know that goes a long way with Leeds fans. I understand that. But Strauch is in my opinion, he's absolutely class. But players have their ups and the downs, don't they? But class is permanent, and I think that's what Strauch is. So, yeah, he comes straight back in for me. I sort of said it on my watch along, Joe. I said, look, as soon as we win this, and we'll probably win it 3 or 4-0, Ampadu playing centre back, and they don't get any chances. People are going to want to keep Ampadu in there and boot Strauch out now. But yeah, I don't think we can forget how good he's been this season.
No, just to finish up, mate. Let's have a prediction for Stoke Boxing Day and Sheffield United Burnley, because there's an opportunity for Leeds United to go top. There's an opportunity for Leeds United to create a gap over Burnley, depending on how the result goes. So it's important that we do get a win. But how do you think the Burnley Sheffield United game will go? And then obviously Leeds United on at 8 o'clock, which I don't like either, because it almost feels like results will go our way. We'll wait till 8 o'clock and then put in an absolute stink fest, man.
8 o'clock as well, by the way.
Yeah, man.
Goes against everything really, this, because they're very good away from home. I think Sheffield United will beat them 2-0.
Yeah,
they'll beat them. I think they'll beat them 2-0. Stoke Leeds, if he makes changes and we see a different combination to Aronson and Peru, which I think we've got to see at some stage away from him because it's just not working, I think we'll win the game 3-1.
Really?
What about you?
I think I could see either a 0-0 or 1-1 between them two. I think it'll end a draw, in all honesty. It's so hard. I think if we get the first goal, we win. It's just will we get it?
I think if it's the same, I think if it's Aronson and Peru, I genuinely think it would be probably another 1-0 or a 1-0 loss. And I'm not blaming on them. I'm not blaming it on them, but I just think our build up, how Leeds play away from it. It's not just on Aronson and Peru, by the way, but I just think the creativity and the outlet of Peru is a huge problem. That physicality for both of them. I think if that is, which we know what Stoke are going to do, it's very similar to Preston. So if that happens again, I can see us struggling again. But if he switches it up a little bit and we see something different, I think we'll win the game. I think we've got more than enough.
Yeah. 2-0 Leeds. 2-0 Leeds. That all depends on the first goal. If we don't get the first goal, it'll be curtains. So
then because then it's Derby away, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and that for me will be a massive barometer of Leeds United at home and away, because we played them at the start of the month, and honestly, them, Luton and Oxford are the worst teams we've had at Ellen Road this season, and Derby couldn't get near us. So I think if we were to then go to Pride Park and struggle, I'd be like, well, there's something's amiss here. You can't have two such polarizing performances in the same month. So we've got to be beating Derby because they were shite. We've got to beat Stoke, man. We've got to beat Stoke. Hopefully we will. 2-0 Leeds. I think, 2-0 Leeds and a draw at midday or whenever it is, 3 o'clock on Boxing Day, whenever the fixture is. But be massive, wouldn't it, mate? If we get that win away from home and then go into the new year without that on our backs, then surely, we see Leeds United get promoted in May, mate.
I think Ollie's right. 2 away wins completely changes the narrative. It does, and other teams are looking at us and going, "Oh, here we go. You know, so that home form's pretty decent. Because the thing is, what we're looking at now is, if we're just looking at form, we're seeing sort of Sheffield United be completely. They're just not dropping, are they? They're just not dropping. They've got a tough period coming up, which will be interesting to see how that goes. And it starts with Burnley. They've got West Brom in there as well. They've got Sunderland away from home. They've got a tricky period. But it's just at the minute, it seems like they're just grinding out these results, or even when they're not playing well. We need to put ourselves in that bracket away from home, just winning and grind out. We don't even have to be playing well, but just grind out those wins, you know. Can't always just be, because I feel at the minute it's very point loss, isn't it? Point loss. Swansea's different, I guess, but on average it has been point loss. So,
yeah. We shall see, mate. We shall see. Have you got anything coming up on the channel you want to let the people know?
Yeah. We've got a room mill coming up this morning, mate, which is ready to go. Just going over all the Leeds news and the injuries and all that sort of stuff, and a couple of players that were linked. And then the debrief later on. If you fancy chatting again, mate, we can have a little chat off air and stuff. I know it's the first time I've asked you, so I'm putting a bit of pressure on you now.
Put me on spot, yeah.
But we'll speak about it off air. But that's coming up later on, mate. So
we will. Good stuff. And I'll have the final word dropping at some point this evening as well, folks, because I didn't do it yesterday. I had a night off yesterday. I watched Dear Santa, by the way, a new Christmas film with Jack Black.
Mate.
Massively would endorse it, mate. It was really funny. Yeah. The kid's dyslexic and he writes to Santa, but he writes Dear Satan. And it goes to Satan, and Jack Black is Satan. And comes,
right.
It's really good. It's really, really good. So if you're looking for a Christmas film to watch with the people, then that's...
Mate, I watched the worst film I have ever seen in my entire life yesterday. It was called A Royal Christmas, and it's got a 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Mate, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. Watched back-to-back Christmas films. That was the last one. It was just about a posh English guy going over to America and meeting an American girl and oh mate, I'm just watching it and
rom-com.
My girlfriend's absolutely loving it. She's like, isn't this great?
Put Dear Santa on, mate. If you've got to watch a Christmas film again, it's really funny. It's got Post Malone in it, Jack Black. It's really good. It's funny.
Dear Santa, right? I'll make it. Yeah. I'll put it on the list, mate. I'll put it on the list.
Put it on the list. Put it on. Right, folks. That's enough from me and Connor. We'll both see you later on our respective channels. If we don't see you, have a good Christmas. But we probably will be doing like a pre-record preview for Stoke. And then I'll probably see you Boxing Day. But yes, check it out. Thanks everyone for watching. Go check out One Leeds as well, and we will see you on the flip side. Bye-bye.
Cheers.